Are GPUs really coming back in stock? As back to school season is upon us, I went out myself to take a look and see what the stock situation was like, and you may be quite surprised. Hey guys, Tiago with Classical Technology here. So today we're going to talk about the back to school season starting, and primarily we're going to focus on GPUs. A lot of people will need to get a GPU if they're going away to college, or perhaps you want to take advantage of all the other back to school sales that are going on at this time. So the GPU is really the paramount and the trickiest thing to be able to get for basically the last year, or at least close to a year coming up now. So before we get into the actual GPUs, if you guys are building a computer, if you've been able to get a GPU, today's video sponsor is going to be cdkdeals.com. I'm going to put all of this in the description, but they also happen to be running a back to school sale. It's going to be putting in code CC30. That's going to be my code CC30. You're going to get 30% off Windows 10 Pro. Now, I've used this countless times myself. I even tested it with Windows 11. I first did it on the Windows 10 machine, and I was able to upgrade without any issues at all to Windows 11. It's a very easy process to get the CD key, and remember, this 30% off deal is only going to be active until September 3rd. Alright, so let's jump back into the video. So GPUs. Recently, I went to my local store, which was a Micro Center, and I realized not as many people have these, but local Best Buys have also been getting some recent drops. I wanted to see what's going on with GPU stock as we are really close to that back to school season. Traditionally, a lot of people will build computers at this time during the summertime, going to, take it to school, or perhaps they're going to go get a laptop. So basically, this is the rundown of the GPU situation as I saw it on the ground, and this will also reflect a lot of what's going on Newegg and Amazon and things like that. First, pretty much the cheaper GPUs are still readily sold out. Like if you want an RTX 3060 or a 3070, 3060 Ti, those are certainly very difficult to find, and sometimes they will have some of sort of the lower end GPUs like a 1660, but keep in mind the prices have been jacked up really fairly high, and you may want to avoid them for the most part until prices come down. So if you're looking for that sort of entry level mid-range GPU, if you do find it, most likely it's going to have to be on the secondhand market or with scalpers or something like that, which I really want to urge you to avoid doing. That way it doesn't really incentivize those people to charge more, and eventually those prices will come down after the playing field sort of stabilizes a little bit more. So having said that, what GPUs are in stock? Now it looks like the GPUs that are going to be most in stock, there are a couple of things tying them together. First, it's going to be the very expensive GPUs, the high-end GPUs. You're much more likely to be able to find a 3080 Ti or even a 3090 than you will a lower-end GPU like a 3060 or a 3070. Now, a special note about the 3080 Ti and even the 3070 Ti, those sometimes you can find a little easier than the 3070, but they're still more difficult. The 3080 Ti that this store had in stock was $2,000 MSRP. That's going to be the Asus Strix model, which traditionally is already a little bit more expensive than sort of the Founders Edition, but that's definitely a whopping price increase over the $1,200 3080 Ti MSRP over what it should be. So is it worth $800 more than the Founders Edition? I really don't think so. That's a tremendous difference. I mean, you can get another whole GPU if you can find one for that price difference. Pretty shocking level between what they said MSRP was going to be and what these GPUs are actually selling at. Now, it's interesting to note that the 3090s seem to sell a little faster than the 3080 Ti's. Primarily, maybe a big reason for this is going to be the LHR distinction, or the light hash rate, which basically means this 3080 Ti is going to be probably half as powerful at mining Ethereum than if it otherwise would have been without this distinction. As we know, the 3090 is not affected by LHR, so if somebody goes in there and they want to buy one of these GPUs for mining, and the 3090 is pretty close in price by a few $100s over the 3080 Ti, most likely they're going to go for that GPU because not only is it a little bit more powerful, has more VRAM, like I said, it is not limited by LHR. So that's going to be a factor that are going to reduce certain people from buying a GPU like this. Now, the 3080 Ti still is fantastic for gaming, but compared to the 3080, it certainly is very, very expensive, and I think a slight miscalculation on the part of sort of the GPU manufacturers and the third-party AIBs. They thought that gamers would readily pay these higher prices, but But as we can see here, there were also a lot of AMD GPUs in stock, primarily the 6700 XT and the 6900 XT. The 6900 XT, because it's really, really expensive, some of these models are selling upwards of $2,500 or $2,600, which is not a good price for this GPU at all. And the 6700 XT, likewise, is almost $1,000 in many cases. Now, look at it from the perspective of a gamer. That's too expensive for a gamer. If you look at it from the perspective of somebody who wants to use these for mining, 6900 XT has about the same hash rate as like a 6800, which MSRP'd for in like $579. So imagine paying almost $2,000 more for a 6900 XT that's now the MSRP at a store like this to really basically get the same hash rate. So people that want to use it for cryptocurrency mining will flat out avoid these AMD GPUs. And the 6700 XT, likewise, it's just way too expensive for what it is. And when people see a $1,000 6700 XT, they rather wait for a 3070 Ti or a 3070 or something like that, where the gaming performance may be comparable or a little better, plus some other benefits that the Nvidia GPUs may have. So as we can see here, at least there are GPUs in stock. I mean, technically you could walk into the store and walk right out with something at MSRP, but you're really not going to get the sweetest deal anymore. The prices are very high, and the GPUs that are available to purchase are not going to be really the most attractive GPUs. Like I said, hash rates are not going to be good. They're going to be priced much higher than their original MSRP. Now, the best chance I think that you're going to have at getting something close to what the original MSRP should be will be one of these Best Buy drops that they've been sort of randomly having. They had one recently a few weeks ago where people were able to wait in line in a store, and those people were able to get GPUs at MSRP, like a 3090 for $14.99. Originally, that sounded like a really bad value proposition, but if you look at it now, if these GPUs at a 3080 Ti are selling for $2,000, $1,500 for a 3090 actually seems very, very reasonable. And of course, the big boy of the bunch, the 3080, $699. I say the big boy of the bunch not because of the performance, but the performance to price ratio. $699 for a 3080. For those people that were able to get it, the Founders Edition, that's a strikingly good price, and that's going to go down in history as sort of one of the best priced GPUs if you were able to get it right when it came out. Now, as we know, these 3080s are well over $1,000. Recently, on the secondhand market, they've been upwards of like $1,500 to $1,600. So definitely still very, very expensive. So if you're going back to school, these are basically your choices if you're building a rig. Now, before, it was much difficult, like earlier in the year, you couldn't even find these GPUs in stores, and you would have to pay probably even more for a scalper. So at least you do have some options, but if you can wait, I would advise you to leave these GPUs on the shelf and wait for prices to come down a little bit and availability to improve. And of course, that's all going to depend on what Ethereum does in cryptocurrency mining. Recently, it's been on a bit of a tear. It's been definitely going up again, therefore increasing some of the demand for these GPUs. So that particular market is still going. People aren't really selling it too much. They're definitely not buying as much as they were in May, but it's still a little bit stagnant, a little bit steady, but it has been going up recently. So we'll have to see towards the end of the year sort of what happens with that as well. Another option, if you don't want to perhaps build a computer with new components like a PC desktop, you could look into some of the laptops. Yes, previously people were even buying laptops to mine with, but now that's been a little bit more neutralized. You can certainly find a pretty good gaming laptop, something with like a 3070 in it. Of course, they're not going to be as good as a desktop PC, but given that you can get it for a fairly good price, I think that may be a good option to look at. There are many great laptops on the market. The one that I've been using actually for a while is the Maingear Element. Mine only has a 2070, but I bought this initially when it came out over a year ago, but it's been primarily really, really bulletproof, hasn't had any issues at all. I even love the way that you can update the BIOS and update the software, which generally is a little bit harder to do on a laptop because you don't have access to like a BIOS page. But in the case of this Maingear laptop, you do have all of those BIOS pages and everything like that. So that's been a fantastic gaming laptop. I even set it up on this really cool standing desk here that I had FlexiSpot send me a couple of weeks ago. If you guys want to check that out as well, it's great for back to school. I'm going to leave the link in the description below. It's a nice little work nook that I like to put my laptop on. on, stand. It's definitely great for your posture and things like that when you have a standing desk. And of course, when you're searching up GPUs, you're going to be there for several hours trying to find something at MSRP. So it's definitely great to be able to have somewhere comfortable to work on your computer. So in conclusion, the back to school season now, GPUs are going to be the hardest thing still to get, but the good news is they are available. Some of the prices have come down a little bit from the highs in May, but it's still not really optimal or ideal. So if you can wait a little bit more, it may be a good idea to just wait it out and see what else happens in the market. But otherwise, you can definitely put together a gaming rig now much easier than earlier in the year. All right, guys, so remember to stay subscribed for more content like this, more updates on GPUs and gaming PCs. Remember to smash that like button, and I'll see you guys on the next video.